friends. I'm your host, Dr. Elizabeth Ssemanda, medical intuitive healer and life coach, and you're listening to Stepping into Soul Power, the podcast for people who understand that we are more than just our physical bodies. Here we explore topics like healing, medical intuition, help you identify your blocks, and give you the strategies to empower the soul in you. Friends, you know, we're in the midst of we're moving towards end of 2022, early we're breaking into 2023, and with that transition of a new year, a lot of that comes with for some of us there's like increased worry, like anxiety, or what is the new year going to bring? Today you are in luck, because our guest today is a chiropractor practitioner dedicating to empowering others, to keeping their nervous system out of this constant fight and flight zone. Yes, our guest, Dr. Amanda Chan, she specializes in neuro-optimization, helping individuals regulate, gain back, get that control back of their nervous system. And with that, I'd love to welcome Dr. Amanda Chan to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. And so, we all have a story, and the audience doesn't know yours. So we'd love to invite you to share with the audience your journey to empowering others in this unique way.
Well, starting out young, my mom was from Malaysia. I'm in Canada now. Mm-hmm. And so we moved here, and I didn't know the language. My food was different from everybody else's. My clothes were different. And so what I tried to do was anything I could to fit in with the culture. And for me, that included not saying anything. And I thought that if I was quiet, that other people might not notice that I didn't fit in. Mm. And then what happened was I didn't talk at all at school, like ever. And I kept quiet. And then later on, as an adult, I started to develop certain symptoms. And what I found out later is that when you don't use something, you start to lose it. Mm. And I ended up with an autoimmune disease that affects the throat area. And on the, emotional, mental aspect of it, not being able to speak my voice and not being able to say my truth. Mm. And it was no wonder that it ended up there.
Yes.
That over time led me to a journey to discover and to look through various tools and strategies to see what would work best for my healing and in my journey.
Wow. Oh, that's so powerful. So can you, and it sounds like, can you tell us about your journey, what tools you came across, and how you decided, on a particular one, how you found the one or the ones that worked for you?
Sure. So like most people, my first stop was my medical doctor, and they were great. And what they told me was they could give me medication to support my thyroid. Mm. And I said, okay, that's wonderful. However, in an autoimmune condition, your body is attacking your thyroid, right? What are we going to do about that? And he said, well, we can give you medication to support your thyroid. And I said, but that's not the root cause. I need to figure out how to stop my immune system from attacking itself. But the medical, model didn't have an answer for that. Mm. And so he said, this is the standard of care. This is what we do. And I said, but that's not going to work, because it's not going to address the root cause of my condition. And so I explored different nutrition, right? The foods that I ate. Mm. I had to work on my mindset. And one thing that I found out, which is my motto today, is the doctor determines the diagnosis, but you decide the prognosis.
So
And
true. So true. You decide how it's going to go.
For sure. And so after that, I said, okay, I need to find out what tools and strategies might work for me. So it started with, okay, everybody talks about meditation. So let's start there, right? Mm-hmm. And then it went into breath work and yoga and, walks in nature and reading and just whatever I could connect to. And what worked for me, I kept. And what didn't work for me, I said, that's a great tool for somebody else.
Wow. And so you went on this journey, you went through various tools, found the ones that worked for you. And then what kind of led you towards hey, I'm going to use this knowledge to empower others?
Well, I figured that if I didn't get the answers that I wanted, that maybe somebody else is also searching, right? And, they might be on their path and they're getting somewhere, but they want to go to the next level, or they're looking to uncover even more. It's really a journey of self-discovery when you look at the different tools. It always is, right? The body, it always leads back to you. And so the more we do the inner journey, the inner work, the more connections we make on the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual level. And you find out that all of those are interrelated and all of them are connected in some way. And so you look at your past and how that leads you to your future. And along the way, you may not see the spiritual crumbs that are being left there that you're following. But when you look back, you said, that was always my journey all along.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And so now you're doing work, and you had helping people regulate their nervous system, focusing on neuro-optimization. Can you break down, because that some people may hear that and you're like, what is that? What's your definition of neuro-optimization?
Okay, so let's start of where the nervous system first develops, right? It develops in utero. And so when you're in your mommy's belly, the beautiful thing is that God, source, universe, environment, whatever you want to call it, you call it whatever you want, it creates it so that when you come out into the world, that your body is adapted to the environment that you're going to come out in. So if your mother was dealing with a lot of stress during your pregnancy and there was a lot of, adrenaline and cortisol running through her body, you would feel that too. And so that would go into the development of your nervous system. And when you had ears to hear, if you heard a lot of fighting and a lot of screaming and name calling, whatever the energy of it was, you wouldn't understand the words, but you would feel what it felt like. And you would feel, again, the different hormones that are released from mom. Your nervous system would develop. And so that when you came out, you would be able to handle the environment that you came out in. All right. And so once you have that, we have an idea of what your nervous system is like. And it also gives us a glimpse of why some people, let's say, they can sleep with loud music on and other people need quiet. Right? Probably in their environment as they were growing up, as they were babies and they were cared for or not cared for, that is how they developed, and why some people, thrive in chaos because that's how they grew up, and other people, they don't have that.
Wow. I mean, it's so profound, just how development starts in utero. And so what advice would you, for women who are thinking of getting pregnant or who are pregnant, what advice would you give to them, as far as nervous system wise, when they're thinking about themselves and the health of their child?
Yeah. And so we like to keep stress to a minimum. And it doesn't always mean that all stress is bad. It's just ones that activate the nervous system, but also know that it'll actually be okay, even if you did have a stressful pregnancy, even if you were, because as babies, they learn to regulate based on you. So if you were holding your baby a lot when they were crying, or you're trying to soothe them in some way, then your calming down of your nervous system will help them calm down as well. Right? So the importance is really to understand how your body reacts to stress and what your capacity is during a stressful event, and then how to calm your own nervous system down. Because if once you calm down, they'll calm down as well. They'll match themselves to you. And that's how babies start to regulate their nervous system, is through the people around them.
I love that. You calm down and baby's gonna calm down too. Like they feel they're reading your energy. They're reading your energy. Um, and so tell me, now as far as, because there are many ways to work with people in this environment. Like how do you like to work with them? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I do two different components. I do, because I am trained as a chiropractor, I do have a practice in Ottawa in Canada. And so that serves my local community. And I use chiropractic techniques to help with stress. And then on the other side, because it is very local, I do programs online that help to reach a wider and have a greater impact on others. And with that, we use the techniques, breath work, the yoga, the meditation, the journaling, cold water therapy, things like that. And mindset changes as well, in order to help affect the nervous system through a more distanced way.
I see. And is this individual, group, hybrid?
Hybrid. So if you're coming in for chiropractic care, is an individual one-on-one basis. And if you're looking at more of the online model, then it is either one-on-one or group coaching, depending on your needs and, your body and your nervous system.
Beautiful. And so breath work, I think our audience is familiar with. Yoga is like, into the mainstream right now. But cold water therapy, I think most people probably haven't heard. I have a background in psychiatry, so I'm like, oh yeah. but can you tell us a little bit about that? What it is and how it might be particularly helpful.
So there's different ways to use every tool, right? And so one of the ways is for myself personally, I do not like the cold. I like being warm all the time. And so people are like, how is it that you get into, like, let's say a cold shower? And I say, well, I use it as a resilience building tool. I use a lot of affirmations. And so that's when I said, if I can do this one hard thing for me first thing in the morning, then I can do other hard things that come along in my day.
I see.
Right? Or I can use, if I can do this, what other challenges can I do? So I use it as a resilience tool. There's also the fact that when you get into cold water, right, your body responds with a certain way in order to have you ever jumped into ice before, or like gone into something really cold? It's like every single cell in your body lights up. So it all turns on at the same time. And again, you don't have to do it long, or it like shocks the system in a way that it brings everything online.
Yes.
Okay? So that's another way that it affects the physiology of your body. So really, when you're using different tools, it's also the way that you use them, right? Whether you're using it for mindset training, whether you're using it to, regulate your emotions, whether you're trying to use it as a resiliency building. So each tool, although we're talking, the ones that we've heard, how we use them and how the application of it is different based on each individual's, constitution.
I like that individualistic approach. Can you tell us about because you had mentioned so the cold water therapy, breath work, yoga, and then mindset training. Are there any for our listeners who haven't really gone into this? Like, are there any mindset training tips that you or any favorite tips that you'd like to share with the audience?
Sure. So when we're looking at stress and how your body deals with it, we're looking at the autonomic nervous system. And it's broken down into your sympathetic, which is your fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response. Mm-hmm. And then your parasympathetic, which is your rest, your digest, your healing response. And so when you're looking for healing of something, then you want to be shifted towards your parasympathetic nervous system. And the master controller of that system is something called the vagus nerve. Okay, and the vagus nerve is a cranial nerve, so that means it comes from the brain. It's big words, but it simply comes from the brain. You've got two, one on each side, goes down and innervates like the organs in your mouth and your throat, and then into your lungs and your diaphragm, and all the way down into your digestive system. So it's a really long nerve that can cause a lot of, that goes to many different areas of the body. Right. And so what it does is it helps shift you into the fight and from the fight flight response into the rest and digest and heal response. And depending on what you want to accomplish, and most people have trouble shifting from that to the other, then you need to learn how to regulate what we call the nervous system. And one of the simplest tools is, I always ask my patients to say, is this a real or perceived threat? So if it's a real threat, then you want your sympathetic nervous system to kick into gear because it helps you run away, right? If a bear's chasing you, you got to get out of there. It has to do that. But if it's your email that's causing this to happen, then it's just a perceived threat. Your body may be, you may be sweating buckets, you may be doing whatever, but it is not actually going to harm you, right? So you have to ask yourself, is this real, a real threat? And then your body can react accordingly.
Yeah, I love that. I love that that tip. And so, like, as you've gone through this journey of helping others to empower themselves and to get their nervous systems under control, or at least have better command of it. Are there any underrated tools that you felt have been particularly indispensable to your work?
Interesting. I really give a lot of homework for people in the breathwork field, just because something as simple as observing something that you do every day, like with every breath, can make a big difference.
Yes.
And breath has always been used to change states, right?
Yes.
So, if you're running a marathon or a sprint, it's going to be a different pattern than when you're trying to calm and relax yourself. Right? And so usually we always do breathing exercises, and there's always a component of breath work in it because it's something that people have with them always. You don't need like a lot of tools and strategies. You don't need to buy any equipment, none of that. Right. And same with walking in nature and connecting with the world around you. And in terms of Mother Nature, the nature of energy and the earth energy and all that, it's something that anyone can do. And so what I'm really big on is giving people, yes, there's a whole bunch of expensive tools that you can buy, right? I have all these machines. I use like frequency specific microcurrent, like, the infrared sauna, like you can buy all those things, but you don't need them all. Right? There's different tools and different applications depending on if you're just getting started, if you're looking to get your nervous system to the next level, and again, also finances are an issue for some people as well. And so I want to give people a range of tools, no matter where they come from and what their ability is.
Yeah, I love that. I'm all for the free. I'm all yes, use that breath work, go outside, connect with nature. All things that can be incredibly powerful. And as you were, as you've been doing this work and connecting with people across the globe, like, what's like one thing that this practice that you've developed has done that you didn't expect it to?
I think it brings people together to help them realize that they're not alone in whatever it is that they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And it is something, breath is something that connects every single person, because no matter who you are, you have that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's something that brings us together, and it isn't something that divides. And I think that's really important to remember, that every single person has that, right? And if you can see the similarities between other people and you can relate to them, then you don't put them as like someone out there. You put it as, oh, they're in here, right? Just like all the different parts of you, because you have all of it within you. Right? You have the polarity of the wholeness of everything that exists within you. And so to see somebody else as you see yourself, that's connection.
I like that. And for those who are interested in kind of going in, discovering more about breath work, is there like a beginner's breath work practice that you like to start off with when you're working with people?
There's something called the box technique, and it's really, you can Google it, and then usually you get a picture of a box too. It just tells you, like inhale for 4, right? And then hold for 4, exhale for 4, wait for 4. But you can, the tools and technology have made it really accessible right now. And people are such as yourself are putting out such great work that people can easily connect to it and use these tools and strategies first, right? And then if they don't work, then there's something more that needs to be done. Then you seek additional help on top of that, right? Or you can get into the other modalities. But if you can do these, it makes a big difference. And you will probably, by the time you get into a practitioner, have already shifted your nervous system even just a little bit, so that the next step, you're going to get even further ahead.
Yes. Yeah. It really what you're speaking is the truth. Just like even doing a little bit on your own can make a huge, you may not, be like, oh, I really want to be all the way there. I don't want to have any worry or anxiety, but like it makes a huge difference. And as you've been doing this work, and I guess I'd like to ask is like, where do you want to go with this? What's your vision for the future?
So I have children, so I want to leave them with the skills and the strategies and the tools to be able to adapt, right? Because it's the nervous system that can adapt to the most change that is successful. Right? It's your ability to cope with change. It's your resiliency. And so if we can teach more children, and adults, of course, but children are the next generation, how to regulate, like how many less fights would somebody be in if they could realize, oh, I'm just being triggered right now, right? It has nothing to do with you. It's because something happened in my past and you're just triggering that response. And I'm responding to you as the same time as like every time I've been angry, right? And I just stack them all. And that's my response. No wonder it's blown out of proportion. But if I can see that in my head or get a sense of it before it actually happens, then it doesn't have to, accumulate in such a big response.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. The kids, if we could really start with kids, well, everyone needs it. We've got our leaders need it too.
You do. But there needs to be like a paradigm shift.
Yes. And so hold on, do you see kiddos?
Yes, I see kids all the time.
Oh, wow. Okay. How young let me tell you, because I know some people who need this. Like how young, is there like an age that you're like, maybe wait a little bit. Like how young do you see? Are there any people that you're like, tell us about your client base, because there are a lot of people out there with kids who are like, oh, my child needs this. And I need this, but my child needs it.
So with the hands-on, like with chiropractic care, which is just in my here,
Mm-hmm.
that I can see ever since you're a baby because I can touch them.
Yeah.
And so they don't have to have all the skills, verbal skills, and yet. With my 3-year-old and my 5-year-old, the way we practice breath work is I say, imagine your favorite balloon, like right in your chest, and we're going to just blow up the balloon. And so they breathe into that area of their body. And my 3-year-old can try and breathe into there to the best of her abilities.
Oh.
And we do simple things, like even, this is going to be funny, but we went, she's learning to use the bathroom, right? And to go on the potty, and she had a bit of constipation. And so what we did is we talked to the poo. I'm like, okay, let's talk to the poo. And she's like, okay, poo, come on out. And I was like, okay, breathe it out. And so she'll go,
oh.
So at 3, they don't understand what's going on, but if you can give them a strategy, so now she knows, oh, if I have something stuck, I go, right?
Yeah.
Which she has a tool, even if she doesn't know, oh, this is what it does, right? She has a tool. Okay. But for really, really young, like infants and stuff, you just work on the parent, because the parent will help regulate the child's nervous system. And so everybody always asks about their kids because, you'll do anything for your kids.
People will shell out that money for their kids. Not for themselves, but for their kids.
That's the thing. But the reality is, if your nervous system is regulated, they follow you. Right? So I always say, work on you first. Don't worry about your husband that you want to change, or your partner. That's always the next question.
My husband.
So how do I change that?
Yes. Fix my partner.
That's the next question that people ask. I'm like, don't worry about them. First, worry about you and your nervous system and your ability to cope with stress and handle resilience. And then they will follow suit, because don't you think that if your reactions are calmer, if they're more appropriate to the situation, they would respond the same?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, it makes it really makes a huge difference. It's hard to be upset with someone when you're cool, calm, and collected. But if you're yelling and you're escalating, it's just gonna, there's a volcano that's going to erupt.
Absolutely.
Wow. Wow. And so, are there any resources that as you've been doing this work, that you've been like, oh, I love that that really speak to you, that you'd like to recommend to our audience?
Well, one of the things that I've done is I put together a free vagus nerve masterclass, and in it, we go through different strategies, different tools, like there's meditation, there's other things that can help you try and calm your nervous system.
Friends, listen, it's free.
It is.
So go get it. Go at least, try this out. It's free. Like, how often does it, and someone that knows what they're talking about, it's free.
It's free, yeah. And even if you go on, like I said, the simplest thing is go on YouTube and search meditation. And I remember the first meditation I did, I was like, oh, what is this meditation thing? Because my mind used to be a monkey mind. And I turned it on and it said, please close your eyes. So I closed my eyes, and then I opened my eyes like 2 minutes in, and then it said, please close your eyes. Like, darn it. Well played. I'm going to close my eyes now.
Oh, I love it. Okay. So definitely have them check out your vagus nerve masterclass. Again, friends, it's free. Like, that's a great resource. And so for our listeners who want to connect with you, who'd like to, hear from you, probably, go into a deeper relationship, where can they find you?
Yeah, so my website is optimizemyhealing.com, and that's the easiest way to connect. And then if you're into Instagram, I'm at Dr. So Dr.AmandaChan, and I do a lot of Instagram reels and stuff.
That's all right. So go check out your website, message you on Instagram. Um, and um, and so yeah, I think like you have I'm so it's just so heartening to see someone that is like genuinely interested in helping other people, like empowering, like giving you tools, skills to like get your nervous system, you know, from that sympathetic fight or flight state to one that's more of a relaxed state, because great things can happen there. And I'd love to thank our guest, thank you, Dr. Amanda Chan, for being on the show. We are so blessed, so blessed to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. And yeah, I'm sure you'll be hearing from our listeners in the future. Take care. Such an uplifting guest. And with that, it's time for our friends. It's time for our next segment. Yes, time for our soul power statement for the week. And it is, I claim my position as the commander of my nervous system. It makes me think of a quote from Abhijit Naskar, who said that as you will be, so will be. We, friends, we are the creators. We are the drivers of our experience. And know that as creators, there are tools, skills that we can use to achieve many things, and that includes a calmer nervous system. Yes, we don't need to be living in fight or flight. We don't need to be living there. We have a choice. We've got a choice. And with that, friends, we've come to the end of our time. And I love hearing from you. We love hearing from you. Please comment below, subscribe to our podcast, write a review, let us know how we're doing. And if you're interested in intuitive reading or healing or coaching, send us a message at soulinyou.com. And finally, if no one has told you this today, I will. Thank you for being authentically you. The soul in me honors the soul in you. Disclaimer: this podcast is for spiritual and or entertainment purposes and is not a substitute for medical diagnosis, healthcare treatment, or professional advice. Each person is so unique, so please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions.